Coming up this week on the TDL Show, we're back after our couple of weeks off for our summer holiday, and we're back with lots to talk about. We've got loads of Windows Insider news, we'll bring you that. I've got some music tech news around, especially like Korg patches. Gary's got EV news, smart home news, and lots more, so let's get straight to Gary. Gary, good evening.
Good evening.
And we're back after our couple of weeks off.
We are, yes.
Yeah, so there's a bit of a summer break. Although I think while I was in Italy, the weather was hotter here for 2 days, and then it's switched back now. But yeah, I think we had some hot weather, and I was when I was away. But it's back to normal rain now. But I was enjoying my Aperols and Italian beer in the Italian lakes. It's very nice. Did take my Surface Go with me, which is a great device when you're traveling and you don't want to carry a big laptop with you. So I only took a small sort of bag with me to carry around, so on the plane, that kind of thing. And the Surface Go is ideal for that. And the long battery life means you can leave the charger in your suitcase and don't have to carry a charger with you, because you can rely on it. So yeah, it was quite good for that. Although I did notice that I don't know, since I went to watch the F1 on Sky Go, and it says due to the UK leaving the EU, you can no longer watch Sky Go content. So I couldn't watch any of the F1 on Sky Go. So I had to watch it. I tried to watch it on Sky Italia, but I ended up watching it the highlights on YouTube. But I couldn't. Sometimes I can wait and avoid it. But I thought 2 weeks is a bit of a time to avoid two races.
That's a good one. So yeah.
But I did look at there are loads of VPN options. So I think one of the options was to get a VPN. But the Sky, I did try some of the simple ones that work in Edge, and actually that fooled some of them. iPlayer it could fool for a while, but it couldn't fool the Sky. And then I did a bit of searching on it, and apparently Sky are pretty hot on VPNs and everything else, so they detect the VPNs and block it anyway. So I thought I wasn't that desperate, so I certainly didn't spend all night trying to install VPNs on a holiday. So, but yeah, it just shows you though, doesn't it, that yeah, you can't just assume you can watch everything. But of course, Netflix, Paramount, and some others, Amazon, they work, but you just get the content that's for that region as well. So that worked well. My little tablet. I tell you, the other thing that worked well as well was the little tags. I think I've mentioned some, probably it was only last year. I've put them away now. Oh, there they are. The little Samsung Smart Tags, Tags Plus. They work pretty well. I didn't lose my bags or anything, but I did put one in the suitcase. And it was quite handy. You could sort of, as I sat waiting for the plane, I was looking on my phone. Where's my bag is? And of course, I know we've mentioned this before, but some tags only work, don't they, if you connect them via Bluetooth. But the Samsung one, I think the same way the Apple does, it piggybacks off other devices, doesn't it? I think there's a name for it. I can't remember the name for it. But so yeah, you don't need to be near your bag. But if this tag goes near a Samsung phone, it can update the cloud, and then you can see where. So I could see the bag was near the gate or whatever, and then while I was waiting for the bags, you can see, your bag's now connected, so it must be close by now. So it would have been quite handy. I don't know if you heard over a weekend I was away. I think I went on the Saturday, and on the Sunday during the early hours of the morning, there was a power cut at Manchester Airport. And it caused absolute chaos, I think, basically. And they were basically dumping bags in one big area, and they would just told go and find it. So the smart tag would have been quite good then, if you could have probably located where your bag was at least. Close by, and you can ring it as well. So I think these are really good. They work so much better now. I've switched using a Samsung phone than they did with the Microsoft phone.
Yeah, I think the only problem, because I've used those tags as well, the only thing I found them was when you have them in your pocket, the button on them is very easy to press accidentally and start beeping. And if you press it, depending what you've got set up on it, I mean, I've got Find My Phone set up on one, and I end up Find My Phone going off all the time because of that problem.
Yeah. And the only other thing, downside I would say, is that they have a little battery in them, the CR32 is it, or 2032, the standard ones, it just says its battery life says adequate. So okay, but I know that they use the batteries quite quickly. So what I do now, I learned quickly. Actually, what you do is take the battery out when you're not using it. Otherwise, it'll just use the battery, which makes sense. But I didn't sort of thought about it at first. But so I had a battery in it. I put a battery in that I used last year. I think it was a new one, so it's only probably been used for a week. I put it in, it said adequate, but how adequate is adequate? I mean, if you lose your bag, you don't want it to run out of battery while you're trying to track your bag down. So I actually put a new battery in when I was traveling, took the battery out when I got there, and did the same on the way back. But I don't know how long adequate last. It could be for a year, 5 minutes. I don't know. But it would be nice if you said like 90%. But I guess with it, maybe it's those batteries that they're not. Some batteries don't give you clear indication, do they, of when they're being the state of charge or whatever. Those little watch batteries. It's probably either on or running low just when it dips. So they probably have a small tail off, don't they? But anyway, I definitely recommend them if you. I mean, I wasn't worried about my bags, but I just had them, so I thought, I'll use them. But I think it's quite handy that.
Yeah, they're great. I mean, I dropped my house keys a couple of weeks ago, and was able to trace back to them with the sensor. So, and as you say, they piggyback on other people's devices to that. And there's always Galaxy devices around these days. It's as ubiquitous as Apple devices in the UK. So, in fact, probably more so. And you can always find things, which is good. One thing I did find is that so the low battery warning on them is not all that obvious. And I've had a couple where I've thought I've actually got them charged and then done search for them and actually realised that not actually got any battery life left in them. So that's something to just watch out for.
It would be quite good if they had a rechargeable. Really, you could just USB type thing. But I suppose with them being so small, there's not space for a rechargeable battery. I don't know if the Apple ones are the same with the batteries or whether they are rechargeable or not. Not looked.
Well, what we really need for those is solid state batteries. They'll last forever.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, that would be a good idea. Now we have got a few things I wanted to talk about this week. I'm getting my kitchen done at the moment, so I'm going to look at getting some few lights for it in there. We've got some insider news. I've got another sound set, and you've got some EV news for us as well. So before we'll start with the insider news, just a catch up on the insider news because we haven't been on for a couple of weeks. So there's a few interesting posts from Microsoft. The Canary one is where all the interesting things have been recently. Well, the last Canary builds have been fairly minor. There's just a couple of minor changes and a bit of an advert for Xbox in the Game Pass in settings. So I didn't do a build video on that one because there was nothing really to show. But I think that what's happening now is they're just getting this. The dev is pretty much the 23H2, and they're just finishing off all the features in that. So they've added some of the narrator settings that were on. I think we talked about a few weeks ago. One where if it crashes, it restarts itself and that kind of thing. And they've added some more notifications on the start menu that was on the Canary build a couple of weeks ago as well. And share has been updated with the new copy button that was on the Canary build a couple of weeks ago, and the QR code as well. So all these things that we're seeing here, some emoji updates as well, are all been on the Canary builds for the last few weeks as well. Plus there's some other little bits and pieces. So dev is running 24. I said 23 before, didn't I? I meant 24H2. And this is pretty much ready, I think, now. We can't be that far off getting that released. They actually said that they pulled this package on the 30th of June as well because they had some issues. So currently that's not available. So if you got it, you're okay. If you didn't get it, then you won't get it until they're ready to re-release that. At the same time, we've had some beta updates as well. I think beta will soon switch to the dev channel builds, the new builds as well, getting ready to release that So that I think the beta will go to 26.120, and then that will be the release. Do you remember we used to get excited about build numbers as well for new releases?
Oh, we did, yeah.
What build is it going to be? 20 whatever? Is it going to be 10,000? And it doesn't seem to have the same excitement with build numbers anymore. I think in general with the insider program, as we mentioned a few weeks ago, it's very much business now, and as keeping the machines updated rather than exciting new builds. So we don't get to talk about them as much. But the other thing they did mention is there's a couple of new features coming to phone link, improved connections settings, and I think phone link now shows up on in the start menu, on the side of the start menu, although this is just rolling out, this new feature, so I haven't seen it yet, but yeah, this is where it looks on the start menu with phone manager, with phone link. It was it now called link to PC? It's been called all sorts of things, hasn't it? Your phone, it was called for a while.
Yeah, they can't make their mind up, can they?
I think it's called it's now called phone link, isn't it? It was called your phone for a while, but yeah, so I actually do use that occasionally. It's quite handy when you get things like when you get text message, but also when you get passcodes sent. You know, you've got two factors, and the passcode gets text to your phone, and it's it's for a web application, say, on your laptop. That code comes over. You can get it from your phone.
Yeah, that is useful. I do agree with that.
Yeah, so it's quite useful. So it's nice to see these little features being improved, but yeah, there's nothing too much exciting. I think I've decided I'm going to carry on doing canary builds when there's something good to talk about. So like that last one I skipped, the one before I did do. So I'll carry on doing those. Because we did stop doing them for a little bit, and a few people said, well, why have you stopped doing the builds videos? We like these. So people like them, I shall carry on doing them. So yeah, we'll interesting to see. I've seen a few of the Surface reviews around. I think some fairly positive reviews, especially on the design of the laptop one. Quite a lot of positive reviews from that with the Snapdragon or whether the ARM processor on there. So I think if you can get if your app has got an ARM version, then I think it's great. It's going to work really well for you. If you're using the Intel emulation, I think it might be a bit more difficult. If you're using special driver ones, I think you're going to be perhaps in trouble. So I've seen people that have got what they want to work on it and absolutely loving them, and I've seen some people saying, "Oh, I'm taking it back. It's not, this program doesn't work, or it's emulated and whatever." So I can see why they decided not to push that on the business front, because it would cause too many issues. But the consumers is probably a bit easier. It's just such an expensive device now, but it certainly looks nice. They're not shipping the that recall feature though, are they? In the box?
No, not the knots, and whether they will eventually is a good question.
It could be a sets type thing, couldn't it, where they show it and it never actually ships. But I think they will. I think you probably have to opt it. It'll always be an opt-in though, because of the sort of the privacy thing, issues that are occurring. But people do. I mean, with the amount of data we give away now, it's not. It's only it's not really that significant, perhaps. But anyway, the reviews seem positive. I would love to get hands and try one, but I haven't been able to get a review in it, and I certainly won't be buying one because I don't need one. I can't. I just can't justify one of them. But it does look a nice device. What else have we got for this week? Oh yeah. Just quickly on the Hue light strip. So I've got a Hue light strip in my living room. I've got quite a few Hue lights now. So redoing the kitchen. So I've decided to put lights in. I'm just trying to decide where to put them lights. So if you go on YouTube and look at kitchen lighting, people have got them on the counters, people have got them on the units, people have them on the kickboards at the bottom. So I've decided to go for the kickboards at the bottom one. But I was wondering, how do you go around corners in those? So I ended up watching a whole series of videos with those because they're not that flexible, the Hue light strips. You can cut them and solder them.
Yeah.
So you could actually cut them and do a bridging wires. I'm surprised no one's brought out a little angled piece that you can cut it and click it in anyway. But with it going underneath kickboards, that I think I can fold it round because I've seen how you can sort of fold it. So I'll maybe do a video of that when I get them. But yeah, that's that. So coming now for the kitchen, I've got the Neff appliances that are all smart enabled. Everything's smart. You can't really buy anything without it now, can you? But things like the dishwasher and the cooker and they're cloud enabled and things like that, so you can see from your phone when your dishwasher's finished, or you can from your phone you can decide what you want to cook and press and preheat your oven and do all that kind of thing. So I'm not sure how much I'll be using those, but yeah, it's nice to get them. But the Hue lights is I did sort of want to get those. So they seem to have changed as well since the one I got about 4 or 5 years ago. I think they're on the version 4 now, and it's just deciding which length to get them. And but they go up to 15 meters, so yeah, that'd be quite nice. And of course, I can get integrated with the Alexa and everything else, and just get them to come on themselves and all that kind of thing at night. So looking forward to giving that. So that's my concession. We can do the kitchen, but I just want to have smart lights in there. So that was definitely £100 smart lights are in this are a lot cheaper than all the other things I'm having to buy for the kitchen. So that's my plaything for the kitchen. Now I wanted to catch up on some EV news, and I think you mentioned earlier to me that there's some new ones on the way, some new vehicles being released. Oh, actually, before you start on that, I wanted to tell you, mentioned BYD. They're certainly going for their promotion. I was in Milan last week, and right in the centre square where the cathedral is, or the dome, they have got a shop, a BYD shop now. So they've got a couple of cars in there, but it's in a real prime spot. So they must be paying a fortune for leasing that. So they must be really pushing their marketing budget.
Yeah, they must do. Well, they're selling really well. I mean, they're definitely going to be up there. Now, would you buy a car without a rear window?
Is that a van?
No. It is a car. So this is interesting. So this is the Polestar 4, which is a coupe, and it's quite a sleek coupe. And it's so sleek they decided that they could do without the rear window. And although it sounds crazy at first, it actually isn't totally far off the concept these days, because technology on cameras has improved so much. They've got a rear view camera in the mirror, so you can obviously see out the back that way, and all the normal cameras and everything like that. And the wing mirrors are good anyway. So it's a bit like driving a van, I guess. You don't have the view out the back, but it's sleek and
it's got a mirror.
You've got the rear view mirror, and the other thing, the big advantage of this is aerodynamics. They can make it much more slippery because they don't have to get a shape which actually will have a piece of glass in it. They can angle it how they want to do it. And it must it looks quite good. But yeah, so that's
actually, it makes sense because the Le Mans hypercars don't have mirrors. They have a screen where the mirror is. And when you see it, it looks just like they're watching it. It's just like looking in a rear view mirror, but of course they've got the big, there's no visibility out the back, so it's the same kind of thing.
The problem it used to be with those things was lag. I mean, it used to. I mean, I've in the past had electronic rear view mirrors in vans, and they've always been incredibly laggy. There's sort of 2 or 3 second lag on them, which is not good when you're reversing. And do you remember way back when I first had my iPace, I hit something because the lag on the rear view mirror. I thought I was a little bit off of it, and it actually it wasn't. So I think there's. But that wasn't a mirror, but that was on the reversing camera. And I probably should have looked in the rear mirror to see. But in this case,
you're looking at the camera, aren't you? So you couldn't.
So and in this case, the cameras were. They say the cameras are not laggy; they're very fast. But one of the other things you could do, you can have a starscape inside your car if you want. The celestial bodies floating around your head while you're parked.
It's it's funny. It makes it. You can get some of the cars with the wing mirrors, can't you? That are cameras. I've never driven one like that. I guess it takes a bit used to.
They probably take a bit. It's where you look to, isn't it? And some of them haven't been the best, to be honest, on that. There's some strange things going on in terms of the placement of them. But I can't remember which one I was looking at. But there's one basically where you had to sort of kind of look down, which meant you weren't really looking in the right angle at all for looking at wing mirrors. But some of them are quite good. They certainly have a help. They help with aerodynamics, for certain, and that's one of the advantages for having them. So there's definitely something to be said for that. The other bit of news I wanted to talk about, and it's not really EV specific, but have you heard of the Game Boy Boys?
No.
So this is a group of car thieves, and this is actually quite worrying. So I think you've probably heard of relay theft, where the idea where that someone can stand between your keys and the car when you
Right,
get
yes.
and open it, and equally if you press the handle and you've got your keys nearby, they can steal that thing. Well, this is a method which allows them to steal the car without having the keys anywhere nearby. And it uses a device which looks very much like a Game Boy, hence the name, and is running emulation software. And what it actually does is emulate a key, and it does a sort of, if you haven't got a well thought out system for communication between the car and the key, if it can make lots and lots of attempts without being knocked out, which quite a few of the manufacturers have, because the same technology is used by a lot of them, they can just crack the certificates and then the keys, sorry, not the certificates, but the key encryption, and actually have this box then emulate your key and unlock the car. So it's basically, as soon as you send the hands-free unlock signal, that's when it starts to do the communication to work out how to unlock the car, usually to your key, but then it emulates that. And they could do this in about 15 seconds.
Wow.
Walk up, and they don't even have to appear to be anywhere near your car to do it. They can be standing 10, 15 meters away from your car.
Yeah.
As long as someone touches the door handle or walks up to do the walk up unlock. But if you touch the door handle, that would always trigger it. That's enough. So you might miss them touching your door handle, or someone might appear to brush against your door handle.
Yeah.
And that triggers it, and then 15 seconds or 30 seconds later, someone will walk up, open your door, and just drive off.
Blimey.
So yes, physical deterrents are the way, and this is particularly prevalent on high-end group cars, so Kia, Genesis, etc. at the moment. Although I think all cars using that sort of walk-up unlock are potentially vulnerable to this. And there's very little you could do to protect against it. Obviously, with a relay attack, you can take your keys away and put it in things, but this is just like breaking into the old door locks was like, and it's not back to putting the steering wheel locks on and the like. It's going
Crook
to be
locks,
crook locks, but it will get to the point where these cars become uninsurable in the same way the Range Rover did, and companies will have to sort something out. So yes, not a good thing.
No, I mean mine's a key, but actually you have to actually physically press it. You can walk up to it, doesn't do it. Yeah. But I know that Mini do, which is also BMW, but theirs is the other way. You just walk up to it and it automatically unlocks. Yeah, I don't know. There's ways around that. Is to go, further authentication, like with your phone, where you've got the fingerprint. Fingerprint authentication. I don't know whether that would, to actually get into your car, you have to detect, your thumbprint or whatever, like it does on your phone, or Face ID to start your engine.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that. That's probably the next step, isn't it? That you just do when you set your car up that first time, because it's almost like when you get a new car now, it's like getting a new phone, isn't it? You've got to go through and set your accounts up, and you've got to go through and set all your accounts up, and you've got to get everything going, haven't you? So maybe it'll scan you, do a face, they have a Windows Hello on the steering wheel, and maybe there's some kind of two-factor authentication. I don't know. Tesla do it with the phone, don't they?
They do phones, yeah. And the phones, the way they do it, the phone's probably more secure than this. I mean, they also do pin to unlock as well, which is a really good idea. You have to put a pin number in to actually get the pin to start the car, drive it off. Which I think the manufacturers should start doing.
So we might start seeing that. I think two-factor like Windows Hello would be quite good if you went and sat in, it detected which driver profile to load from Windows Hello, and then you put a pin in if you can't recognize the face, because sometimes it doesn't always work. But say something like Windows Hello works I was saying 99% of the time.
Yeah, and a lot of these cars have got internal cameras these days, so you'd think that would be a definite interesting approach.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's something to be aware of, especially with buying one of those cars, and maybe turn off keyless unlock, because that would actually solve. That's the best defense against this is actually not to have the approach unlock on, so you don't get those signals sent, the keyless unlock sent. So you have to use the key to actually unlock it, and that would prevent most of this stuff. Doesn't prevent the conventional relay attack though. So that's obviously the other thing, but hopefully that's less of an issue. So yeah, so it's an interesting set of issues going on at the moment.
It's a long way from my Morris Marina, which you could use any British Leyland key to get into it. Because it was so worn, the tumbler was so worn inside that any car or anything vaguely resembling a key from a British Leyland car would unlock my Morris Marina and start it, for that matter, as well. But yeah, we've come a long way from my £200 Morris Marina. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? So technology creates these issues, and it's up to the manufacturers to create the solutions for them. But as fast as they create the solutions, that somebody's out there is trying to break it, isn't it? Which is like any technology solution. Every smart home item, every router, every piece of network equipment, all has the same thing, doesn't it? Yeah, so it's got to keep those updated. Interestingly, I was seeing actually there was a fairly substantial EV usage where I was up in the Italian lakes, and actually there was quite a substantial amount of EVs, not like you would see in a city, or perhaps if you were in Milan or London or whatever, but there was still quite a few. But what I did notice were very few charging points. So I don't know whether they were all charging, whether they were doing destination charging or I did, on the Autostrada, the service stations I had charging points, but where I was right up in the top of the lakes, and so a few EVs driving around, but I didn't see anywhere to park and charge, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and possibly they don't need to, and maybe they've charged en route, got there with reasonable amount of charge for all the running around the week, and then they just charge when they get on the autostradas again. Because as you say, the autostradas are pretty well equipped with chargers. I honestly are got a huge penetration in Italy, so that would be possible, or destination charging. Huh? Some of a quick glance, some of the hotels in Garda have got destination charging, so that may well be what they would do. Yeah, it's interesting.
It's funny. I've got even I don't have an EV or anything, but I've still got, from talking to you now, I've got to think I do notice them now. Because I'm looking out to see what the sort of the mix is of them. So yeah, there is quite a few out there. I did see quite a few there. Right, where else did it have? I wanted to talk about. Oh, I've got a few music tech stuff that I've been working on. So this is a couple of sets that I've done, I think, since we last talked. But one, I did a Tangerine Dream set. I don't know if I mentioned that.
You did mention you're working on it, yeah.
Yeah. So I finished that set now, and that's released. But I actually did a couple of recreations as well. So I don't know if you know, if anyone knows Tangram, which is one of the early 80s ones. I've recreated the whole track, just using the Modwave. So what I did was I listened to it, created the sounds, went through each sound one by one. So I've posted a couple of videos of those where I've actually broken down how I did it, the sounds, and then done the track as well. So there's a recreation of Tangram, and a recreation of Dolphin Dance as well, which was one of the other ones that I did. The Dolphin Dance one got tagged for copyright as well, so I must have done quite a close job on that one. The Tangram didn't, but Dolphin Dance got tagged, so obviously my cover version was quite close to the original on there. The ones that I set that I released just before I went away, which was for the Korg Wave Station, is recreations of the Korg Wave Wave Station. So that was the 1990 Korg synth. Much of the technology or the sounds are in the Wave state, which is kind of its grandson or something, I suppose you could say, but it's got the legacy back to it anyway. So I've recreated some of those sounds. So this is available for the Wave state, so you can get that. You can install those and get some of those classic sounds on your device as well. So check those out as well. And I've got another set that will be released by the time this goes live on Thursday, which is a new set that's coming out for the Modwave, which is soundscape type sounds. So that's atmospheric sounds and landscapes and that kind of thing. So that'll be on the YouTube channel next week as well. So Thursday actually. So look out for that one. And I've got another one in the works as well. So I'm quite enjoying doing that. So I've got a few more to do. So I get a lot of requests for them now, and but it's very time consuming to recreate a whole Tangerine Dream track. It's not like I'm picked a simple 4-chord Beatles track with bass guitar and drums. Tangerine Dreams are like 30 tracks of electronic sounds. So it's
I don't know how you start to do that. That's amazing.
Yeah. So a lot of listening. But yeah, I have enjoyed doing those. And I think the next one is I'm actually going to do a video on how I go about recreating sound, because sometimes it's obvious to me, and then I don't expect anybody would want to know my process behind it. But a few people have asked me now, well, how do you actually go about picking a sound? How do you go about recreating a sound by ear? So I've got to work on a video. I think I'm going to get my old Gen SX 1000 and alongside with the new ones and show you how you can take a sound from there and recreate it on the new one just by ear. So people have asked me it, so I think I'll have a go at doing that one as well. On that music tech front as well, we will be getting Microsoft's Pete Brown to come back on the show as well to talk about building Windows music creation, media creation PCs. Pete knows so much about all this stuff, and we listened to Pete talking about MIDI 2.0 a few weeks ago. But he really is the man for media creation or PC music creation at Microsoft. And so what I'm going to ask Pete to do is come on the show, and we're going to ask him sort of the best setups to optimize your music production. What do you need? Is it RAM? Is it CPU? Drivers? Should there be services that you don't want starting, or the services you should have starting, and any power consumption settings and all that? So we'll try and get all that out of Pete. But if any listeners or viewers have got any questions you want to ask Pete about optimizing your music production for Windows, then let me know and I'll collate them together and we'll throw them over to Pete. So it'll be later this month, the end of the month, I think. So I'm looking forward to that. Pete is so great at that kind of stuff. So he's got a whole series of articles as well that we could talk about, but about setting that up as well. So this is off his. No, I think these articles are not the official guidelines from Microsoft. They're him as a Windows user and a musician and whatever. So yeah, we'll definitely enjoy talking about that one. So that will be coming up soon as well. And we've got a few content creators coming up as well. I'm trying to line up some synth users and music producers and asking how they use their stuff as well. And the other thing as well, next Tuesday, we're going to do a little live stream. So the questions, answers will be good for that one as well. So we won't do a pre-recorded show. We'll do the Tuesday show at 8:00 UK time. So please join that if you can. You can fire questions over. I'll have a go live streaming if I hope work all the technology at the same time. We'll do some sound design type stuff on as well. That would be quite fun. So I'm probably aiming to do if this works, then we'll probably do one a month, something like that, because it keeps things a bit different and interesting. Right, was there anything else you wanted to talk about on this week's show?
One other EV thing I was quite interested in, Electroverse, who I think I've mentioned before. It's the charging arm of Octopus Energy, the supplier. I mean, they are sort of like a card you can use at multiple charge points. They don't have their own charging system. One of the things they've started doing, the idea of actually charging rates differing depending on time of day. So sort of usage-based charging. So a bit like they've done on the home charge on their home electricity with the Octopus Agile stuff from Electrobus. You at certain times of day you can get cheaper charging, which is an interesting concept. I think it's not been done up to now really, other than by Tesla. Tesla have charging at different times of day, which is cheaper. But the Electroverse side of things has been a new option. I mean, there's a couple of other things which are really quite good on Electroverse. You can pay it with your home electricity bill if you're an Octopus user, so you can basically charge all of it, and you get 5% discount off public charging if you use Electroverse if you are an Octopus Go customer. 8% if you're in Octopus Go. So that's definitely worth doing. Yeah, so some interesting bits and pieces there, which are worth looking at if you run it in. And these they cross a lot of the networks. They work at Ionity, Shell, Osprey, Mir, who you may not have heard of, but that's some of the country. Source London, AVE, Instavolt, which is a big one because not Instavolt aren't on many of the network on them. The user cards, Patricia and Blake. There's a couple of big names missing from there, and I wish they weren't. The Good Serve isn't on there, and BP isn't in there. But other than that, that's a really good set of items.
Yeah, I suppose it makes sense for them because they probably wholesale get charged less for peak rates.
Yes, indeed they do, and they know all about it. They have their stats definitely to hand on this. They know all about when they're getting charged by rate because they supply their own electricity effectively.
Yeah, and I suppose it makes sense for optimization as well, doesn't it? So maybe if you've got a bit of driving to do this week, you say, I'll go and charge it tomorrow night because it's going to cost me less, and I'll do it on the way out. Or where I'm setting off early in the morning, I'll set off half an hour early and do it at 5 o'clock in the morning or whatever, as opposed to 5 o'clock in the afternoon on the way home, and because it'll save me a bit less. So it gives you the option that you're not going to pay. Yeah, I think that makes sense. Yeah, I guess all these things are gonna, with all these electricity companies charging points and everything else, at some point there'll be a bit of acquisitions, won't there? I guess, and we'll end up with one or two big players. I suppose it's already started and there's been a few acquisitions, but it's very much in that. The last few years have been the sort of startup, hasn't it? All these startups popping up and big companies jumping in on the act as well. And then over time, it'll sort of solidify, won't it? And we'll get one or two big players and probably less choice. But then it means you've got less services to have credit accounts for and whatever. There'll just be a few. A bit like with petrols, petrol stations and things like that. They used to be all little independent ones, and now they tend to become franchising chains and whatever.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'll just share my screen just very quickly, because what's interesting is if you can see here, this is the electric. This is all the charges you can actually use on that Electroverse card. And I think if we'd looked at this map we looked at similar maps a few months back, a year or so back, there was a lot less coverage. Now it is pretty concentrated on the bottom half of England. There are some big gaps. There's certainly some big gaps in Northern Ireland and Wales. But maybe they're very hilly gaps.
Well, that middle stretch where the gap is the Pennines, isn't it, effectively?
Yes, it is. So you would expect really to have charges there, and people look at that and think that's. But you look at the density of charges around here. It's so much you can't. And where I'm based, you can hardly move for charges. And it's just popping up. Now they are pricey at the moment. There's still a lot of questions around the costs of how the costs are justified, and I really would like to get somebody on from one of the charging operators to talk a bit about this, because there are a lot of factors for that. Actually, it's just that's the other thing, of course, that this also covers Europe as well. So they have a lot of charges in Europe that you can actually use with this card. So you don't need to worry about getting charge cards for all the rest of the world. You can just go off
that's
and
good. Yeah.
use what you want. And again, density's pretty good.
Mm.
France is actually getting a lot better. When I first went over to France in EV, there was hardly anywhere to charge, and now it's quite a bit dense. Let's look at Italy. We were talking about Italy.
Oh yeah.
Italy is not as well covered, but still.
No. Yeah, and up that dense area is Milan.
Yes.
Yeah, and up the lakes as well. So yeah, that's probably reflects it. Interesting that Sicily has got quite a dense amount of charges compared to mainland Italy.
Yeah, indeed. And then you compare it with Malta.
Yeah.
It's very, very interesting. Italy there and
certainly the northern Europe is, especially Germany and the Netherlands, is pretty it's pretty dense on there, isn't it?
Yeah,
there's quite a lot there though for a small island. Not in
Malta. Not in Malta because they tend to not have cars in Malta. It's funny.
Yeah. It's a bit like charging in Venice. It's probably not that applicable.
Yeah, but certainly a lot of charges. And also, very interesting. I think that this whole charging network stuff. It's definitely picked up over the years, but it's quite feasible to have a Europe-wide trip now easily with one charge card, and the costs in some parts of Europe is not that expensive. Other parts very expensive, but not in some parts it's not so bad.
Yeah, it's interesting that. So I think it just makes it's another consumer decision you make, isn't it? When you're looking to you get your EV and you decide which services you're going to use, just look at which has got the best coverage for you and prices.
Yeah. I mean, I'm always intrigued out on this one. Is how many charges are up in the high value range now? Sort of the 350 kilowatt chargers, and there's going to be quite a few of those around. Because that's what we're going to need as we get these faster charging batteries, especially with solid state. We talk about solid state and how it's going to make a big impression on what we got, but unless you've got high power chargers, you won't get that fast charging with that. It doesn't matter how good your battery is. If you've only got a 50 kilowatt charger, you can only get 50 kilowatts in the battery at a time. So yeah, it's interesting that's I think most of these will be by Ionity. In fact, they are. That's because most Ionities are class. One other interesting thing which has happened in recent months, Ionity always used to be you had to pay using their account or have a partner card to use them. They have recently opened up to using contactless payment. They started. Well, actual charges I haven't got them, but in the UK they now had an extra pole where they'll have a payment terminal, and you can just turn up and pay, which is good.
Yeah, that's good.
So there is a dearth of 350 kilowatt chargers in the UK, but on major routes, I guess.
And you can see the main routes on there.
The great thing about 350 kilowatt charger, especially my current car, is you could charge in basically 200 miles in about 20 minutes. So that makes tripping relatively easy. In fact, probably 15 minutes to be honest. So that's good.
Yeah, wherever you are, can virtually get you home.
Yeah. So this is, and of course, this is just the ones on Electroverse. There are a lot of chargers which are not showing here because they're not on the Electroverse thing. There's the BP chargers which are all around the placement. Yeah, so that's good. Quite interesting, I think.
Yeah. It's always quite interesting seeing those density type maps. Right. Well, I think that's everything for this week. What have you got over on your EV channel?
I'm hoping to line up a couple of interviews. I've been a bit tricky getting them organised, but I'm hoping to have that. And I've got trying to get some car review videos done as well. I'll start thinking about what my next vehicle is going to be shortly because the lease is up on my car. So figure out what I'm going to do. May go down to one car for a little while, just while I'm thinking about it, because there's lots of cars coming out which I like the look of, but they're not out yet. And also the other thing is that, and I make anybody think about this, is that obviously the car manufacturers are going to be punished if they don't sell EVs this year. So this whole thing we were talking about a couple of weeks back, the fact they've got this requirement to the EV mandate to sell a certain number of EVs, and if they don't sell that number of EVs, they get charged a fine for each of them when they have underneath that limit. So come the end of the year, when they start getting these, we'll start getting these fines, they will be selling things off with pretty good discounts, I suspect.
Yeah.
So I might wait a bit to try and do that. See, but it's I've been an early adopter, first mover, and at the disadvantage of paying for that. So I don't want to do that again. I want to get to. There are some really good deals out there at the moment, and it'd be good, and great deals on second-hand EVs. There's some really. I think I mentioned my old iPace was up for sale a couple of weeks back, and a crazily low cost, sort of less around about 20k mark, which for a car which was. So I'm getting up to the 100k mark when it was bought is ridiculous. So well, I didn't buy it. I mean, I leased it, so no end of paying that sort of money for it. But yeah, shows the benefit of leasing, I think. Anyway, as you say, that's what's coming up on my channel. We're going to have a look at a few things like that, and I'll have a end of lease review of my car as well, with some of the stuff which I haven't got to the channel up to now, including a crazy video of me reversing, which is fun.
Excellent. Well, so we'll be taking. So next week we're doing live stream, which is on our YouTube channel, and then we'll be back doing this show the week after as normal. So where can we find you?
You can find me at Garry WMA virtually everywhere, and obviously the EV Owner channel on YouTube as well.
Excellent. Right, well, we'll see you next week.
Okay.
Next time.
Bye.